Recorded.
Right. So, guys, I'll start with, but of course, I'm not sharing my session. I mean, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. So I'll take a minute or two of your time to help you understand who this person is, Shiva, basically, right? Maybe some of you already know me, but this is for those who might not, come across me, basically, right? And first of all, thank you everyone for joining the session on time. And I'm Shiva. So I'll be your Azure trainer for this approximately 2 months duration data engineering program. And again, to start with, I'm not a full-time trainer. Maybe many of you know me already, but again, I'm not a full-time trainer. I'm a working professional, right? I'm working as senior Azure Data Engineer in my current company. Right. So throughout this program, this 2 months, tenured program, we'll explore more than 10 essential Azure services, right? Which are crucial for anyone who wants to pursue their career on Azure Data Engineering subject, right? But anyway, I'm going to help you understand the services that we are going to cover during the end of this session today, right? Again, just a little about me. So I carry 13 years of experience into IT. Even currently, I'm working as Azure senior Azure Data Engineer, of course, right? So I'm specialized in various different technologies like SQL Server, SSIS, Snowflake, Power BI, and we use Azure, and then little bit of Amazon ads as well, basically, right? But anyway, so currently I am majorly working on Azure technologies in my projects, right? So again, let me reiterate, I'm not a full-time trainer. I'm a working professional, but also a trainer, basically. I guess. So that's about me in short, right? Just give me 1 sec. There's a person. Okay, guys. So let me start sharing my screen, guys. If there are any questions, please make a note of it, right? So at the end of the sessions, I'll try to take as much of possible, or else we'll try to have the questionnaires, and I'm going to answer each and every one of your questions either tomorrow or day after tomorrow. And by the way, we are going to have 1 hour session every other day. So our session have started at 9:30 p.m. IST, and it is going to end at 10:30 p.m. IST. Right. So let me start sharing my screen. Guys, can someone confirm if you can see my screen? There's a PPT.
Yes, we'll see your screen, sir.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for confirming. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Okay, guys. So we all have gathered here to understand data engineering, right? To be very precise, Azure Data Engineering, right? That's something we all are interested, and then we have gathered here to understand that, right? So as a part of day number one, I have some agenda which I'll walk you through and help you understand some of the concepts during this session, right? So the first one being what is cloud computing, and then the benefits that we have being on premise versus being on the cloud, and then the revenue of the cloud computing services, and then also we'll talk about what is Microsoft Azure and SSIS versus ADF. And at the end of the session, I'll also show you the services that we are going to cover during our tenure, right? So first, let's understand cloud computing basically, right? Even before we get on to Azure, data engineering and all that stuff, first we will understand cloud computing, and then we will move to the next concepts basically, right? So let me take my pen. Yep. Serious, right? We must be aware of what a server is, how we can connect to the server. Very, very basic level idea is good enough to go by, guys. So you need not necessarily, have to have, a advanced level, knowledge on top of it. No, right? So what is a server? How you can connect to it? How typically you copy a file from, one machine to another machine. Maybe how you can install, some applications on your machine, and how you can communicate with various different, machines which are on the same network, right? And how you can, perform analytics, and how you can, query some data, get some data, right? If you are able to perform them only via internet, say if you are unable to perform them offline, I mean to say without internet, then it is nothing but cloud computing. See, on the cloud computing, server will be resided somewhere else, will be away from our premises. So that can be considered as cloud computing, right? So the activities and then especially the computing will happen somewhere else, not on our machines, right? So if you are able to access those services or those activities only via internet, then it's cloud computing. If you are able to access them even without internet, so let's say we all are in one single company, and if we all are connected via a LAN, right, via LAN cable, local area network, yes, even without internet, we'll be able to access it. So that can be considered as on-premise. On-premise services are something which will be running at our company or at our local machine itself, right? So in on-premise case, our company should take care of the services or the activities that are running it, right? So it's our responsibility, right? Now let's talk more about on-premise and then the cloud, right? And then we will see the differences and then understand which one is best out of these two, basically, right? See here. The first one being upfront cost is high, right? And cloud says pay as you go, right? So what is the difference? See guys, to start any project, so let's say if you have to start working on any project, assume it can be a brand new or something which you are migrating from maybe from one company to the another company. What is first that we need to have if it is on premise? First we need to have the infrastructure that is being set up at our company premises. That means we need to purchase the server, we need to purchase required architecture, and of course licenses, and of course we need to hire some staff who have to track that service servers which would be running 24/7, right? So in on-premise, first you have to shell out some capital, and then first you need to set up the infra, right? Only then you can start working on the project, right? But whereas on the cloud, no infrastructure setup is needed, and needed at least from our side, at least from us. No need to invest any of our time in setting up the infrastructure. Infrastructure will be readily available on the cloud. It is just that we can create our accounts on top of that particular service provider, and then we can start working on the project, right? So with the cloud, there is no wait time. There is no wait time, and there is no brainstorming as well. So with what do I mean by brainstorming in this case? So you no need to worry about the hardware, you no need to worry about the licensing, you no need to worry about the configuration, you no need to worry about the staff and then the maintenance of them, right? Everything will be taken care by cloud computing service provider in pay as you go model, right? But whereas on-premise, everything have to be taken care by the company itself, our company, if we are working in one basically, right? And in the pay as you go, we will only pay for the duration that we utilize the services case, right? But whereas on-premise, irrespective to whether you use it or not, yes, upfront we have to purchase those infrastructure for sure, right? We will not have any alternative for that. Again, the second point and third point says that is my pen. Yeah. The second point says no automatic updates, and then the third one says upgrading is not flexible, which is of course on-premise. But when it comes to the cloud, automatic updates are in place, and of course upgrading is pretty much flexible. See here guys, see, updates are everywhere, right? You take any device that is connected to the internet, right? At least from last 5 to 6 years, yes, we do get updates, right? We have Windows 10, Windows 11. Sooner or later, we'll be getting the other flavor of, excuse me, uh, other flavor of Windows as well. And if you take any, smart mobile in which we are using, yes, we do get updates, right? And we do get, very frequent updates as well, right? So when it is on premise, see here, guys, when our system is getting upgraded, right? Especially when we talk about, say, bank, take any bank like HDFC, SB, or any, alternate, equivalent bank. See, for on-premise services, there will be a downtime if you have to upgrade the infrastructure. See, sometimes we receive SMSs or, information from the banker saying that, dear customer, from this time to this time, our services will be down. Right? Quarterly once at least or half-yearly once, we do get such a message from our banker. You know what they do during that time? They typically update their services. They might update it, upgrade it, bug fixes, rolling out new features, and then so on, right? So that stuff will happen on premise. But the takeaway from the second and third point is, yes, there will be a downtime, right? Our system will go down for some time period. That's for sure. But on the cloud, yes, absolutely, there is no downtime. Then you might ask me now how the updates will get rolled out, right? Basically, on the cloud, updates will roll out behind the screens. The moment we close and open our application or the service that we utilize, we see updates on the screen. It is that simple. You just close your application and then open it after a minute or so. If there are any updates, it will get attached to our primary copy or the primary service, right? It is that simple. So cloud doesn't need any downtime to upgrade or update or have some bug fixes or enhancements to the properties or the activities that we utilize on any cloud computing service provider. So guys, the points that we are discussing is pretty common for any cloud computing service provider. It is not only exclusive to Azure, cloud, pretty common, right? And also I'll talk about, the common, the top cloud computing service providers in the market shortly. Right. And the last point in the list is data cannot be accessed remotely. And then on the cloud, data can be accessed remotely. See, the difference here is, see, we all sit at home and then, work from home, and then still we connect to the servers which are located or distributed across the globe, right? So if you ask me, yes, I sit at my home. Of course, I work at, hybrid model. So a few days I go to office, few days I am at home. So when I'm at home, yes, I do sit at home, but still I connect to the servers, or Snowflake servers, or SQL servers, which are located across UK and US. So how that is getting possible? Of course, via internet, but it is actually possible via VPN, right? Virtual private network. So that's make us to connect to the servers which are distributed or located across the globe, right? Irrespective of the region where we are sitting at. But VPN comes with restrictions, right? Of course, the restrictions vary from, maybe the way companies get into the contract with the VPNs. But there will be restrictions for sure. But when it comes to the cloud, I don't see much of the restrictions. But still, if you wanted to keep it, you can keep it. That's a different story. But generally, we won't have any restrictions, right? We can use any electronic device that is connected to the internet to connect our data which is on Azure. Example, you can use your laptop to connect to your Azure services. You can use your maybe iPad. You can use your even mobile phone also to access the data which is on Azure. Right? But via mobile phone, of course, we'll have little restrictions on the way we access the data, but still we can access it. Right? But if it is on-premise, no, it is via mobile. I don't think you can access much of the data, but it will be very, less data that we can access if it is on-premise. Okay, so those are the major differences that I would see if we talk about on-premise and then the cloud. So the takeaway from the discussion is, yes, cloud leads the space. Cloud leads the space. Like you take any aspect, pay as you go, updates, upgrades, and in accessibility, yes, cloud leads the space, right? So let me move on to the next one. It is not moving. Yeah. Okay. So the next one is revenue. Not much, related to us, guys. This is, just just to answer a question if you have anything as such saying that am I learning the right technology? Because that's a common question I get from most of my inquiries or my students. Am I learning the right technology? Right. So guys, this is from Gartner. I'll just keep it short because I have not generated this particular data. I've just copied it from Gartner. Gartner is one of the top research agency in the world, basically, right? One of the top research agencies. And they do research on various different areas, services, topics, domains, whatnot, right? On demographics, many other aspects as well. They do research, right? So they have also done research on the cloud space. So how cloud is going to grow when you compare with the on-premise, right? We have just spoke about on-premise, right? So that's what we are going to have the comparison. See, traditional, you can see here traditional versus cloud. So that's what we are going to have for the next 1 minute. And see, this is in terms of billion dollars, and they have spread the bar chart for about 6 years, right? 7 years, sorry, 2019 to 27 years, right? So if you see this, the total revenue from 2019 to 2020, like 304, 370, 451, blah, blah, blah. If you see, the growth of the cloud is exponential when you compare with the total revenue growth for on-premise. See, for on-premise, it is 705, 710, 45, 744, 775, and then so on, basically. See, look at my red color lines, right? For on-premise, it's a flat curve. It's a flat curve, pretty flat, right? So when you see for the cloud, it's exponential growth. So that means no, we have no choice than getting onto the cloud, guys, right? Maybe if you would have missed in the last year, now is the right time to get onto the cloud before we vanish ourselves, right? Anyway, that's a different story. Okay, so again, the growth in revenue also you could see the cloud have exponential growth from 66 to 138. But whereas on-premise, it's flat. Again, 33 to 31. In fact, it have come down. The growth has come down. Who have gathered that growth? Cloud have captured that growth, basically. Right. So that's the kind of revenue that we have with the cloud, right? So guys, like Azure cloud, we have many other cloud computing services that are available in the market, right? But anyway, let's not get into the other competitors of Microsoft. At least for today, we'll talk about it as in when we progress, maybe in few days or so. I'll take some time to help you understand what is Amazon cloud, maybe GCP, and then other clouds also. But for now, let's stick to the Microsoft Azure at least, right? So yes, let's talk about Microsoft Azure, for some time now, basically, right? So Microsoft Azure initially have is known as Windows Azure, basically. And what is Microsoft Azure? Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform, the two for public, right? So I would say public cloud computing platform. So what do I mean by public cloud computing platform? So that means people like you and me can go ahead. See, you and me are like, public for Microsoft, right? Can go ahead and then create these services. Of course, we have to first create the account and then we can create the services and then start working on the project, right? There are no restrictions as such. Any one of us in this particular group can go ahead, create the account and start working on the project, right? Microsoft Azure provides 200 plus services, right? Say, data factory, say SQL Server, SQL database, right? So likewise, it have 200 and plus services and the number always increases, right? Always increases because Azure rolls out many updates. Maybe in a week or in a month, we will see, many updates that is rolled out across Azure platform, basically, right? Again, let's come to the point. It provides 200 and plus services. So that means anyone on the globe can create the account and choose any of the service that they wanted to have for their project, and then they can start working on the project. And the beauty here is we can start working on a brand new project. That means a brand new implementation can also be done on the Microsoft Azure platform. Or else, let's say if you have a application or a project that is running on-premise, let's say from last 5-6 years, you can migrate that application to Microsoft Azure. It supports both of the methodologies or both of the implementations as well, right? Again, I repeat, you can start developing a new project, brand new project on Microsoft Azure, or else we can migrate a project that is running on-premise from pretty long years, right? So either ways, it works, right? So that's what my last point says, right? You can run existing application in the public cloud as well, right? Since that is public in nature, yes, anyone can, go ahead uh, and then create the account and then, start working on the project, right? Right. And the next one on the list is ADF. Right. Of course, ADF stands for Azure Data Factory. Maybe most of you might have come across that already. But anyway, guys, ADF of course stands for Azure Data Factory, right? So what is ADF? Okay, boss, we understand it is Azure Data Factory. But what is that? Let's see, guys. ADF is a ETL. ETL. Right? So what is ETL? ETL stands for extract, transform, and then load. And we can extract the data, transform it, and then load it. Let me help you understand with a very simple example basically. Okay, even before I explain it with an example, let's first understand the ETL with comparing that with very general English terminology. Right? Extract, guys. E stands for extract. See, what do we mean by extract in general English terminology? Pick something from a location. Let's say if I pick a book, which is on my floor, I can also have extracted it from the floor. So transform, change the way it is, maybe removing some papers inside the book or adding some papers or laying a paper around to that, right? Or covering it with some other cover, right? Or some other wrapper, right? These all falls under transformation. That means you are, making changes on the looks of the particular book, right? So transformation. With respect to the data, transformation is nothing but adding new columns, removing columns, filtering down the data, sorting it, right? Pivot, unpivot, right? Aggregates, right? These are all falls. Of course, there are many more. These are all falls under transformation. And then load, right? So once I wrap the book, I'll place the book in a particular location. See, I cannot keep my book or keep that particular book in my hand forever, right? Maybe I can keep the book in my hand maybe for some time period, right? Beyond that, no one can, keep it forever, of course. Right, so I have to place the book somewhere in any location, maybe at home or somewhere else, right? So that's we can consider as load. So extract, pick, transform, change the way it is, load, place it somewhere. Right, so that's ETL in very general English terms, basically. So let me help you understand with an example, right? Very simple example, right? Say we have data in, say TXT file, no, TXT, text file, TXT and text, simple. And say you have data in Excel. Assume very simple. Don't complicate the scenario, guys. Assume you have a simple TXT file and a simple Excel file. Say it have some data, okay, structured, kind of, structured data with columns and rows. So what we can do, say if you have to extract the data, we can make use of Azure Data Factory, ADF, right? ADF have the capability to extract the data out from these sources, out from these sources. We can transform it. By the way, guys, transform is like optional, right? Transform is not mandatory, right? We'll perform transform as per the business requirements. It is not that, transform is, mandatory in each and every logic that we work on. No, it's not, right? Say, we extract the data and we'll perform the transformation based on the needs. Again, business requirements, when I say needs, okay? And we can load the data in a location. Now, assume that can be a say a SQL server, just to simplify the context, right? So that means I can extract the data from a text file and Excel file, maybe at the same time, or sequential also. That can be parallel or sequential, right? We can design the way we want it to have. And then I can perform the transformation and then I can load it into a location, right? So that's the kind of functionality I can bring with ADF. Yes, and see here, I've just taken text and Excel as an example, guys. Likewise, Data Factory supports 100 plus sources, guys. See, it supports 100 plus sources. See, say you have data on Amazon, say you have data on Google, say if you have data on IBM, Say if you have data on Oracle, SAP, whatnot, right? Likewise, it supports more than 100. 100 plus is what I have mentioned there. Yeah, more than 100 sources it supports. Say if you have data in a JSON file, XML file, Avro file, right? It supports CSV, of course, most used data, right? It supports majority of the sources which are currently in the market, right? 100 plus sources, right? Of course, we can build, we can build pretty complex, ETLs, and, we can perform the ETL development. And of course, we can visualize the way data is getting, processed by ADF, right? So we can completely see in and out using the ADF basically, right? So that's the kind of process we can, or the ETL that we can develop using Data Factory, right? So now let me help you understand, where data engineers stand using this architecture, right? Using this architecture, guys. See here. I'm trying to talk about data ingestion and data processing as well, but here I have highlighted saying that it is data ingestion basically. See here. We have assume let's say we have critical data. Critical data means any healthcare data or so, and say we have financial transactions. That means say bank related data, and say point of sale. Say for example, we went to a store, say Reliance Trends, or Max or any other, store, and say you purchase some, items out from there. Say you have this data residing in a different locations, right? So what we can do, we can have Azure Data Factory, ADF, to extract the data out from those systems. Maybe again, it can be simultaneous or it can be a sequential, right? So either way, it works. Of course, based on the requirement, we can choose between. We can have Azure Data Factory to extract the data out from there and then load data as is, raw data, right? So that is considered as data ingestion. Data ingestion means, guys, load the data as is from the sources, right? Either that is also possible with Data Factory. Else, on top of the data ingestion, we can perform the data processing. So what do I mean by data processing? We can clean the data and we can transform the data, right? So like I've said, right, transformation is optional, right? So say if you wanted to have data processing, yes, we do also perform transformation there, right? And of course, maybe the end users or a different team can connect to the data which we have placed it in a cleaned and transformed way, and they can use tools like Power BI, Tableau, or Excel, or they can as well write queries on top of the data that we have made available for them, and then they can deliver the results to the end users or the client basically in this case, right? But where do we stand in this particular architecture, guys? See if I draw a line here, this is where we stand. So this is all our responsibility. Data engineers are data engineers, right? And this side, more like data analyst. Data analyst generally picks the data that we process and make ready for them, and then they can use tools like like I've said, Power BI, Tableau, and then so on, and then they can perform the visualization on top of it. I guess so. That's where we stand with respect to this architecture, right? And last slide from my PPT, SSIS versus ADF, right, guys? See, ADF is what majorly we spend time on, which is a ETL basically, right? So ADF completely runs on cloud. By the way, ADF is a cloud-based ETL. We discussed it, right? ADF is a ETL, right? That's what I've written it. But it is a cloud-based ETL. That means the processing, the complete ETL processing happens on the cloud. In this case, Azure Cloud, because it is Azure Data Factory, right? But again, let me go back. So it have started its availability, general availability from 2015, but people have started using for their projects from 2018 sometime, right? But The functionality that ADF gives is not something new. It's not something new. It is not something which have been invented in 2015 or discovered in 2015. No. The concepts that ETL follows is there from last 20-25 years, maybe 25 years, right? But ADF have been evolved from last 6-7 years, right? Then how we are doing those ETL activities even without Azure or Azure Data Factory, right? So that's where tools like SSIS are in place. Okay, see, SSIS stands for SQL Server Integration Services. Excuse me. Sorry, I repeat, SQL Server Integration Services, right? So it is a on-premise ETL, right? It's an on-premise ETL wherein we can install on our local machines and then perform the ETL, right? So it's there from pretty long time, but ADF is much more advanced than SSIS, which completely runs on the cloud, basically, right? See, let's have some differences between these two. See, like SSIS, there were many other competitors, guys. Oh, but of course, the reason why I brought in only SSIS ADF is SSIS is from Microsoft. Azure is also from Microsoft, right? So that's why I brought in the differences between these two, right? Right. So ADF comes with pay as you go. You will pay only for the duration you perform the compute or processing. But for SSIS, you need to first purchase the license. Of course, I'm talking with respect to the enterprise level or organization level. First, the organization have to purchase the license, and then they can have ETL in place for their projects basically, right? But ADF is not like that. Now, so first you consume it and then pay it. So that's what it says. ADF is a service, therefore we consume and pay for it. But whereas SSIS, first we need to purchase the license, and then you have to start working on the project. And SSIS can be administered via SSMS and Visual Studio also. Visual Studio can also be used, Of course, we use that majorly than SSMS, right? But ADF is administered via Azure portal. Right, guys? There is a portal called portal.azure.com. So via that we can access ADF, right? So how we can access Azure portal? Via a browser, right? Browser, guys, sorry. Any typical browser like Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Safari, and then so on. Basically, any of your favorite browser can be used to access Microsoft Azure. Right. Shortly, I'll show you how a portal looks like basically. Right. And of course, ADF and SSIS have its own scheduling infrastructure. See, guys, the ETL process or the ETLs that we develop can be scheduled. Can be scheduled in such a way, okay, boss, run my process at some particular frequency, or run it at any given time period in a given day, basically, right? We can schedule it in such a way, right? ADF have a internal scheduler, right? It comes with its own scheduler, but SSIS doesn't have any internal scheduler, right? So SSIS depends on a third-party scheduler. But anyway, it is simple. It's not so complex. It is very simple to schedule in SSIS. Right. But anyways, guys, SSIS is out of our syllabus. So it is just that, to help you understand, I just brought in the discussion, about SSIS basically. Right. So now, right. So given that info, I'll quickly showcase you how the portal looks like. And of course, if you are interested, I can also showcase you SSIS as well, how SSIS looks like, and then, how we can develop a process and so on, because I have both of them on my mission. Right. But anyway, I'll just, walk you through this one first, and then, we'll take from there. Right. So we have a URL called portal.azure.com, guys. Right. See, of course, there are various different accounts on my system. I'll explain all of them, maybe starting from day after tomorrow. But just bear with me, guys. There are multiple different approaches where we can follow to create the account. I have 3 different active accounts. Of course, second one is not active. 1, 3, and 4 are active accounts, right? But again, like I've said, I wanted to keep our first day as simple as possible, and then we'll talk about these accounts on day after tomorrow. Right. Anyway, for now, I'll get into this, Naveen Kumar account. But again, guys, it is not my account. I am Shiva. This is one of my student from a different batch. So I have requested him to provide this to me, and he have given it to me basically. On his request, I've got it. Of course, on my request, he have given to me. Anyway, it is loading. I guess. Right. So this is how. Um, yeah. So this is how a portal looks like, guys. Right. So of course, there is account being created by Naveen. I mean, about I believe 12 days back, or 12 or 10 days back, he have created the account, and it's a free trial account, so in which I am also accessing along with him, basically. Right. And this account has been created using US based details, not India based details, US based details. So that's why if I have to get into cost management, you would see everything in terms of dollars, not INR, in terms of dollars. Of course, it is loading. We'll just give a minute for this to load. Yeah. So you can notice in this particular month, maybe from from the time we created this account, we have consumed $12.37. Right. So if you keep using in the same way, the forecast is $18.56 is what we are going to consume. Right. But of course, right, since this $12.37 is the consumption for many different services that we have created. See, you can see we have created data factory and many other services we have created. Right. So now let me help you understand the services that we are going to cover, and then we'll try to correlate some of them, which is on the screen now, basically. Right. So let me pull up my notepad. So yes, let me make a note of the services that we are going to cover in this particular program. So of course, all are Azure. So we will start with Azure SQL. Of course, so I would say, of course, cloud computing basics we'll start with, and then we'll start with Azure SQL Server, database, and then Azure Data Factory. Sorry, Azure Databricks. So in the Databricks, we'll be talking about Spark, PySpark, Hadoop. Of course, Hadoop comes first. Maybe if I have to keep it, I'll keep it here. Hadoop, Spark, PySpark, and of course, Databricks and cluster and Python. And of course, many other topics we'll be covering under Azure Databricks. So along with that, we'll be also covering Azure Synapse and Azure Storage Account. And in Azure Storage Account, we'll be covering data lake generation too, right? Data lake Gen 2. There is a blob storage also, guys. We are not going to cover blob because it's pretty old, in nature. So it is, the latest one we have currently in the market. I mean, from storage account is, data lake generation too, basically, right? So along with that, we'll also, go by Azure Logic App. And then there are some other services like Azure Resource Group, small services, Azure Tax, and then GitHub is something, we'll see how we can integrate that. Azure Data Studio and Azure Storage Explorer, right? And yes, of course, we'll discuss about artificial intelligence. I would say AI. AI assistance, right? And at the end of the session, guys, I'll be giving you very brief end-to-end project details, description, and a discussion. Okay, guys. So I'm just checking if I have missed anything. Yeah, Key Vault. So after this, we'll see Azure Key Vault. Right, anything did I miss here? Right. Yeah, I think I have the complete list on the screen. I guess these are all we are going to cover during our tenure. Right. And right. And if before I open for questions, guys, and I know if you see here, let me keep notepad also side by side. See, where is my pen here? Yep. See here. So we have data factory being created. Of course, it's part of us resource group. Here it is, and storage account somewhere here, and then SQL Server. Of course, the list is big, right? I don't want to make it complex again. The list is big, right? So we'll be creating, of course, see guys, I'll be following a hierarchy, right? So tomorrow itself, I cannot go and then start with Databricks, or tomorrow itself, I can go and start with Data Factory. There will be a sequence, right? Which is pretty much important for anyone to learn, data engineering better, right? Otherwise, you need not to come to a person like Shiva, right? You can have them on, youtube.com, or you can have them on, udemy.com. There are hundreds of sites that are available. But the point is why you have to come to a person like Shiva and then have to pay him and then have to take the sessions, right? So that's where the flow is pretty much important for anyone, right? So that's something. And could be the second point is, since I am a working professional, you'll see, my teaching will be in such a way, how we work in our organization. So I've almost translated that as my training basically. So the way how I work in my organization is something, what you see on my screen every other day, right? And also it is like interactive, right? So you can ask questions and then you can raise your discussions if you wanted to have any as such, right? So we can have any mutual, discussions as well during the sessions, and then we can, solve the problems, together basically, right? So that's something, we can expect together during these sessions basically. I guess maybe sometime later I'll also show you how SSIS looks like, right? But before that, let me see if there are any questions. Yes, please raise your hand. If you have any questions, maybe I'll try to go one after the other, or else you can make use of the chat window as well. Maybe I'll try to go by it and then try to cover from there as well. Yeah. Sure. Maybe I would request to raise the hand first, before you unmute, because we have multiple people in the group. So it will be hard for me to stop everyone, right? Okay, Swati, please go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, I was wondering if you can quickly tell the sequence, like, it's just to create interest. I know it has a sequence and you will cover it later in the sessions, but just out of curiosity. So when the data comes in, all the raw format goes in the data lake, and then EDF extracts, and then it pulls into a place where you can transform. I know very vaguely, but I wanted to understand on a very higher level the sequence of all these, and if an organization want to go with some other tools like DBT, where does it fit in? I just I'm curious to understand that part, if that's okay with you.
But of course, see, your question is very broader one, right? So it's I would say it's a big question as well. See, typically we follow the ETL process, right? So we do extract from semi-structure. Since you are saying you're talking about data lake as well, so we can extract data out from the data lake. Either we can perform the transformation or not, and then we can load it. So if your question is all about sequencing these services, yes, you have to wait for a few days to understand it, right? Swati, I hope you got answer out from there. Yeah, and yeah, sure, perfect. Shubham, please. Yeah, Shubham, go. Please, can you be a little louder? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, your voice is fluctuating a bit. Okay, is this issue only happening with me or for all?
I just spoke with Swati, na? She don't have any issues with my voice, basically. Right?
Okay, okay. No issue. Actually, I had some questions. So I want to ask one thing. Like, how many years of experience can we show after completing this course? Like, actually, I am belongs from the different
Yeah,
domain.
that's true,
So
Shubham. I can understand your curiosity around to that. Can we stick to the services and then the topics that we had today? Because this can be a very common discussion I'm going to get after few sessions. Just you have to hold at least for few sessions to get answers around to that. But let's stick to the subject for today at least. And after few days I'll
okay,
take that question. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Madan.
okay,
Please.
okay. Coming to the subject part.
Okay,
So
sure.
another one question is
Sure.
like how much Python knowledge is required for Azure
Yes,
Data Engineering?
that's a good question. Yeah. See, guys, you see, we'll be covering Python with respect to the data engineering subject. See, Python is very vast. That's why you would have raised that question, basically, right? We'll be covering only the subject that is related to the data engineering. See, you need not to carry any Python knowledge, for this session because I'll be helping you understand Python from the scratch, right? But again, I'm not going very deeper into the Python. Let me also put it that way. We'll be covering only what is needed for our subject.
Yeah, actually, why I'm asking this question because I searched somewhere like Google or another things like in a normal data engineering and cloud data engineering. So in normal data engineering, like Python is much used for creating a pipeline and everything.
Of course, yes, Python is pretty much needed. Yes, it is needed. We'll be covering that part. Yes, whatever is needed for it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Madan, is your question answered? Or Bharat? Yeah,
Yeah, Shiva.
yeah is your question? Yeah,
Yeah, hi Shiva.
yeah, hi, go ahead.
Yes, Shiva, from the data lake, from the pipeline itself, we can load the data and we can perform the transformation, no, in the ADF.
Of course, yes, yes. That's what we learned in the PPT, right? Azure Data Factory is a ETL, yes.
Okay. Yeah, from the data lake, we need to load the data or from the pipeline itself.
No, pipeline. See, data lake is just to store the data. That's all. You cannot perform any ETL in the data lake. It is just to store the data, basically.
From the pipeline, where we need to fetch the data from the data lake itself.
No, yes, it can be a data lake. See, like I've said in the PPT earlier, so it supports 100 plus sources. Say if you have data in Oracle, say if you have data in say Amazon system or Google system, still you can fetch data out from. It supports 100 plus sources, right? So if you have to go back to this particular slide, see, it supports 100 plus sources. Data lake is 1, SQL Server is 2, Oracle is 3, Amazon is 4. Likewise, 100 plus sources it supports, right?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Bharat.
My question got answered, sure. Thank
Oh,
you.
sure. Thank you. Sure. Yeah. Harish.
Hey, hi, Shiva. Like, my doubt is like I'm completely new to this Azure Data Engineering. I don't have any knowledge on this Azure Data Engineering. Okay, so I'm also a working professional, but I am working for some other as a developer. But this is very completely new to me. But I just want to switch my career to Azure Data Engineering. So, like, it's completely new to me. It's how can I tackle this? Like,
Okay.
is there any prerequisite is required for this course and all? I don't know like how can we start and all, how can I get the knowledge and
Okay.
all. So, can I get some info, please?
Yeah, sure, definitely. Let me jump on here. See, guys, my syllabus or the curriculum which I have developed or which we are going to talk about during our next, few months, is for the people or for the candidates who wants to gain knowledge from the basic level to the intermediate level. See, guys, again, let me repeat. It is for the candidates to gain knowledge from the basic to intermediate. Right? So such a curriculum I have developed. See here, that's why if you look at the topic that we are going to discuss, it is nothing but cloud computing basics, right? We will be starting with very basic level. Guys, this is for everyone, not only for Harish. That's a valid question. We will be learning like what is Azure SQL Server, what is Azure SQL Database, right? I'm not expecting, much knowledge from your side, guys, because I will be kickstarting, at very basic level on each and every service that we have on the screen. But as a prerequisite, again, to answer your third question, that you have raised, as a prerequisite, but if you should have some knowledge on how you can have data in an Excel file or in a JSON file or in a CSV file, basically. And if you have little SQL knowledge, little is enough. You need not to be intermediate or expert level on SQL. If you have little SQL knowledge, that's good enough to go by, basically, right? Yeah, I'm not expecting, and this syllabus doesn't, need a candidate to have some knowledge on Azure. This is completely for the beginners.
Yes, sure, Garu, but today whatever we discussed, it's like some deep thing. Like we don't have any knowledge, but you started like how it is. Somebody knows something, so we can go like that. You started now, so that's why I'm asking.
No way. See, we started with what is cloud computing. So I didn't expect you to know what is already a cloud computing, right? I didn't ask any question saying that, do you guys know cloud computing? And also we started with what is cloud computing. We started with what is on-premise, what is cloud. I started with very basic. I'm sorry if you thought, that these concepts are very much advanced and this is not for the beginners. No, you are absolutely wrong. The concept, please go by the recording one more time. Maybe you'll get this recording, once the session is completed. Please go by it. I have started with very basic discussion, right? Just go by it. If you still think, the discussions that I made is only for the intermediate or, advanced level person, do let me know. I would like to, reiterate, what I have discussed today, right? Yeah, thanks, Harish. Yeah. And I have a question here on the chat saying that we don't have a license for Azure services. How we are going to practice, guys? Please don't create your accounts. That's the first thing I would like to mention here. Don't. I'm repeating again. Don't create your services, right? So there are, like I've been saying, there are various different approaches where we can follow to create the accounts. So like I've been showing, right? I have three different accounts. So one is university account. The other one is pay as you go. The other one is free trial, right? So there are multiple different approaches, but of course, we typically can go by free trial account. There is a concept of free trial account, but how to create it? What is that? What is the process of creating it? What are the steps to create it? We'll talk about it on day after tomorrow, right? You have to wait for 2 more days, including today, to understand how you can create this particular account. But absolutely, yes, there is a free trial which is available. Yeah. And Asif, yeah, please.
Shiva?
Yeah.
Shiva, you have told on-premises required internet, but this cloud also requires internet, no?
No. See, cloud requires internet, right? Over the internet, it is called as cloud. Maybe you said it vice versa, right? Cloud.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
I will
yeah.
make it correction.
Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. Thank you. And Prakshit, sorry,
Actually,
Parikshit.
hey, hi Shiva. Actually, you missed that person. Actually, I'm Asif. I am someone, I think so, spoke in between. I don't know who was that.
Okay, Asif, yeah, go ahead. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, like I discussed in the beginning of the session that we will be covering detailed projects, like end-to-end projects. So I have questions around how many projects are we going to cover in this session?
See, I have multiple, right? So if you are very eager to get them, I have 3 different projects to be very precise. But generally, one is very bigger one. So the other 2 are like medium level projects that I have. So guys, during this end-to-end project, it is not only project that I'm going to give you, right? It's a good point that Asif have raised. I will also detail you how I work in my organization. So that's something I'll also share with you, how I get the requirement, how I break it down, how I solve it, how I debug it, how I respond to my clients, how I respond to my end users, right? And how I solve their problems is also something I'll discuss. Not only the project that I'm going to give with you, the project which I handle in my organization is also something I bring up the discussion. Basically, that's why I said the discussion as well. Discussion, of course, with respect to the project that I work on. Discussion with respect to the project that I provide to you also. Right?
Okay, so Shiva, actually the question I had around this project I was asking because I want to understand, I understand, I have the, idea of what data engineering is. So data engineering is basically bringing the data from the source, transforming it using ADF, Databricks, and other tools, and then, moving it to some other on-prem sources, right? So basically, if I have to move my data into Snowflake, so I will be, getting into that, and then I will be using it. So how am I supposed to, like, what is the transformation tool we will be using in those projects? So is it PySpark that we will be using? Is it Snowflake that we will be using? Is it DBT, or what are the different kind of tools we will be using in this particular project to transform the data and then orchestrate it in the ADF, if I have to put it correctly. So, and then I will be using Synapse Analytics, Azure Monitor, to log my how my logs are working and things like that. But in order to transform the data and then orchestrate that data, I will be using ADF. But in order to transform the data, what is the tool that I'm using for this three different projects? Is it three different tools for three different projects, or it is just one tool for all the three projects?
Okay, first let me ask you this question, Asif. Do you have any working experience on these services?
Not like extensively, but yeah, partially I would say I have worked on ADF. Previously, I have worked on Snowflake. I've worked on Databricks, like to some extent, but not extensively. I have created store procedures. I have created for each, for until, this kind of pipelines in ADF. But I don't have much extension into data lineage. I don't have much extension to how key vault is used. So those are
See,
some of the things
Asif,
which I have
let me stop you here. So this is for the candidates who want to gain knowledge from basic level to intermediate level. Okay. So because see, I don't want, I mean, give you some wrong expectations and then, cheat you all, just and making you join my sessions, right? So if you falls under this category, then this is for you. If you are not under this category, this is not for you. It looks like you are not within this category, right? Just, go by the recording one more time. If you still feel you are under this particular category, I would like to answer your question on tomorrow, right?
Okay, cool.
Sure.
Cool, Shiva.
Thank
No
you.
worries,
Yeah,
no worries.
thank you. Yeah, sure. And with respect to the guys, we are over the time. I have to jump to a different call. I work for US shift, guys. Please make a note of your questions. I can still see some people were raising your hands. I would like to take the questions and then answer them on tomorrow, right? So there is a question that I've received on the particular chat. Guys, I would like to answer this question on tomorrow. This is about examination that I can sense it, but I would like to answer it on tomorrow, guys. But again, guys, I'm reiterating, right? So this program will help everyone to gain knowledge from the basic level to the intermediate level, right? And with that, I'm signing off, guys. And stay tuned. Get your recordings. I'll catch you all tomorrow, same time, right? Thank you all.